I hope that you're all well, and also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 1 English lesson on action verbs. And before we start with our lesson on action verbs, you're going to log into aplusstudents.ca with your username as well as your password. Once you've logged in with your username and password, and then you're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 1. And then you're going to scroll down up until you get to the chapter of action verbs. And before we get to our lesson on action verbs, a verb, right? It's a doing word. So a verb is a doing word. So it's basically an action, right? So it's an action that's taking place. It's basically telling us what the person is doing or what the thing is doing. That is a verb, right? All right, so before we start, we said our chapter is action verbs. The subject is English language arts, grade 1, and the lessons that we are focusing on under the chapter of action verbs is complete the sentence with the verb to match the pictures, identify action verbs, and also to use action verbs. So with the first one that says complete the picture, the sentence with the verb with the picture, there you will be given a specific picture and you're going to have to basically say what the action is within that picture or what the person or thing is doing within that picture. Because an action verb or a verb, it's a doing word. It's something that someone is doing, right? It's an action that is taking place. All right, so we said that a verb, it tells you. So a verb, it tells you what the person, animal, or thing does. So once again, a verb, it tells you what a person, animal, or thing does, right? So what they are doing. So whatever that they are doing, we call that a verb, right? So whether it is a person that's doing the action, whether it's an animal doing the action, or whether it's just a thing that is doing the action, right? But that is a verb. And we don't identify the person that's doing the action, but we're doing the action. We identify the action that is taking place. For example, the cat jumps. The cat jumps. So if we identify a verb, right, within the sentence, and then we will identify the verb as jumps, right? Because now you're asking yourself, who jumps or who jumped, right? So basically, the cat jumped. So the cat is the animal that did the action. Or you can ask, what did the cat do? Right? So we can basically say the cat jumps. So which means that jumps is our verb. It's the action, it's the thing that the animal did. We play. So now it's like you're asking yourself, what are we doing, right? And then we can say we're playing. So this is a verb. So play is a verb, jumps is a verb, right? And if we look at three more examples, right? Additional examples. They cook lunch. So they cook lunch. And if we identify the verb or the thing that is being done within the sentence, and then we can say it is cook. So it's like asking yourself, what are they doing? They cook, right? My friends kicks the big ball. My friend kicks the big ball. So my friend kicks the big ball. And if we identify the verb within that sentence, we can say it is kicks. Because it basically tells you what the friends did. And then Molly draws. Molly draws. So if we identify the verb within that sentence, we can say it draws. So Molly draws. So draws is a verb, kicks is a verb, and cook is a verb. It tells us what either someone did or something did. So now we said a verb, right, is a doing word. So can you think of any other doing words? We specifically mentioned jumps, play, cook, kicks, draws. Those are doing words. Can you think of any other verbs or doing words? If we think of more verbs, then I can think of one which is run, right? So to run, that's a verb. Can you think of another word? Another example of a verb? If we think of another example, right? Can even say walk. That's also a verb. It's something that someone is doing. Reading, it's a verb. What else do you think is a verb? Give me a few more examples of verbs. So even sitting is a verb, right? So that is a few examples of action verbs, right? All right. And we said verbs, they tell us what the person, animal, or thing does, right? It is the action that either the person, the animal, or the thing does. And we made a few examples of verbs. And we said the examples are to jump, to play, to cook, kick, draws, run, walk, reading, and even sitting. That's a verb. All right. All right, so if we look at the list of action verbs that we have over here, right? Here we have some more verbs. And we said run is one of our verbs. So whether you're running a race, running because you're late for the bus, running because you're late for school, running to your friends, right? Or running around because you're playing soccer or football, that is run. It's an action that you're doing, right? If you have chores and you need to clean, right? Cleaning is also a verb. It's an action. It's something that you are doing. To dance, it's a verb, right? It shows some form of movement, right? It's an action that you are doing. To walk, whether you walk to school, walk in the mall, walking to your friend, right? That is a verb. It's something that you are doing. So once you get hurt and you cry or you're sad, now you cry. Crying is a verb, right? It is something that you are doing. To crawl, right? Like babies when before they start walking and then they first crawl, right? So that then shows an action that babies are doing. And for some reason that can be very exciting, right? When you see the baby starts crawling. Fighting, right? Fighting is also an action verb, right? It's basically showing us or telling us um, it's something that they are doing. Laughing, right? It's like asking you, what are you doing? No, I'm laughing at the joke, right? Because the movie is, for example, funny or someone cracked a joke, right? So laugh is a joke. To ride your bicycle, ride the bus, drive in a car, ride in a train, that is a verb. The fact that you are currently listening to me, listen, right? That is something that you are doing. Like you are listening, I am talking, right? So that is basically both actions that we are doing. So I'm the one that's talking, right? That is what I'm doing. And what you're doing is like you are listening. So basically, both of us are doing an action. To read a book, magazine, newspaper, right? That is also an action that that you're doing. Writing, whether it is writing in your notes, homework, writing a letter to a friend, right? That is it's an action that you're doing. To think, right? So as much as we think like, no, it's only my thoughts and it's not like really something like physically that I was doing, but your thoughts, something that you are thinking, it is something that you are doing. It means that you are thinking currently. To cook, to climb a mountain, climb a rock climbing, that's in action. And to drink water, fizzy drinks, juice, that is action verbs. All right. So we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So we're doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca. All right, so now let's go to aplusstudents.ca. And the first lesson, we said our chapter is action verbs. And the first lesson that we're going to be focusing on is to complete the sentence with a verb to match a picture. So now we're going to complete the sentence to match the picture. If we are looking at what the goats are doing, there's like three goats. They're standing at the river. What are they doing? And if we look at the action or what the goats are doing, then we can say the goats, they are drinking. So the goats drink, right? Because they're drinking water from the river. So the goats, we can just say they drink. Right? So we say that the goats, they drink. So what are they drinking? They're drinking water from the river. All right, if we look at the picture, right, what is this person doing? Jan, what is Jan doing? And if we look at the picture that, or something that Jan is doing, and then we can say Jan reads, because Jan reads a book. So Jan reads. So reads is an action that Jan is doing. She reads a book. And if we look at this specific picture, right? This is at the pool. So what is this boy doing in the pool? And if we look at the action that this person is doing, we can say the boy swims. That is the action that the boy is doing. The boy swims. So the boy swims, right? So that is the action that the boy is doing. He swims. All right. So we see that the boy swims, right? Which means that that is the action that the boy did, right? And once again, we said a verb, it tells you either what the person, animal, or thing does, right? All right, so now we're going to our test. We need to look at the pictures, right? And then complete the sentence with the verb to match the correct picture. All right. So now if we look at what Sarah and Brad is doing, right? There we see toys, we see little dolls, right? So Brad and Sarah, we can then say, do they play or are they crying? Brad and Sarah, do they play, cry, skip, or jump? We need to choose one of that to show what they are doing. Do they play, cry, skip, or jump? All right, so if we choose the correct answer, right, to match the picture, we can say that Brad and Sarah play. So they are playing with their toys. So play is correct. Nate and Gabby, an airplane. So Nate and Gabby, do they take an airplane, see an airplane, shoot an airplane, or touch an airplane? So Nate and Gabby, they looked up in the sky and they saw something. So did they take an airplane, see an airplane, shout an airplane, or touch an airplane? And if we choose the correct answer to match the picture, we can say that they see an airplane, right? So well done. C is correct because they looked up And then they saw an elephant. So well done. C is correct. All right. So yes, somebody is behind a tree and somebody's walking in the far distance. So this girl, what is she doing? The girl, is she napping? She hides, sings, or she draws? So what is this girl doing? She naps, she hides, sings, or draws. So we need to say what the girl does or what is she doing? The girl, she naps. Is she taking a nap? Is she hiding from someone? Is she singing or is she drawing? What is she doing? All right, so if we choose the correct thing that shows what the girl is doing, then we can say she hides or the girl hides. And hides is correct. So which means that she's playing hide and seek with someone. Then we need to complete the sentence to match the picture. Here's someone on a bicycle. So now we say he a bike. What does he do with the bicycle? Does he draw with the bike? Rides a bike, sleeps a bike, buys a bike. All right, so we can say he rides a bike, right? Because that is basically what he is doing here. Rides a bike. And rides is correct. All right. And the children what the dog, right? We see water, we see the dog is in the bath. So the children what the dog. What are they doing with the dog? Are they washing the dog? The children wash the dogs, miss the dogs, walk the dog, or sing the dog. All right. So if we say the action that is taking place within the sentence, we can say the children wash the dog. All right. So we can say the children wash the dog. And wash is correct. All right. So now we're going to the second one where we're going to identify action verbs. All right. Now it says we need to identify the action verb. So which means that a sentence will be given to us, right? And we're going to have to underline the action verbs within that specific sentences. And that way we'll be able to identify the verbs, right? So if we look at the first one, where we need to find the verb, Blake catches the ball. So Blake catches the ball. So what is the verb within that sentence? So Blake catches the ball. And if we try and look for the action, something that Blake did, and now we're going to underline the verb. Blake catches the ball. Blake catches the ball. So if we identify the verb, we're going to say catches is our verb. So Blake catches the ball. So catches is our verb. All right. If we look at the next sentence, it says he fixes the toy. He fixes the toy. What is our action verb? Or what is the doing word within that sentence? He fixes the toy. So he fixes the toy. What is the action? Right? So what did he do? So he fixes the toy. And if we identify our verb, we'll say fixes. Right? So fixes is the verb that's telling us the action. So the man walks. What is the verb or the action within that sentence? The man walks. And if we identify or find the verb, and then we can say walks is our verb. So the man walks. So it basically walks, it is our verb. Basically tells us what the man is doing. All right. So now we're going to our test where we're going to identify action verbs. So we're going to find the verb, right? The balloon pops. So the balloon pops. We need to identify the action verb within that sentence. Is it the, is it balloon, or is it pops? And if we identify the verb or find the verb, we will then say pops is our verb. So well done. Number three is correct. Because pops is number three. The car stops. The car stops. So you need to find the verb. Is it the car or is it stops? So the car stops. So the car stops. And if we identify our action verbs, stops is our verb. So stops is our verb. So the babies sleep. The babies sleep. Is it the babies or sleep? That's the action verb. So if we find the verb, we'll go with the babies, they sleep. So sleep is our verb. So well done. Sleep is our verb. And then the children play. The children play. So we need to find the verb. The children play. And if we find the verb or identify the verb, we'll say play is our verb. So now we're going to use action verbs, right? So we're going to use action verbs. We identified the action verbs. Now we're going to use the action verbs. So we need to complete the sentence with the verb. I'm sorry. That store open at night. And if we basically complete the verb with the correct action verb, sentence with the correct action verb, we can say the store stay open at night. So the store, it stays open at night. All right. So if we complete the sentence with the verb, we can then say Robin paints a picture of a parade. So paints a picture of a parade. So painting is our verb. So Robin, a picture at the parade, and we already mentioned that one. Amy and Bill, their mother. So Amy and Bill, we can then say that they hug their mother, right? Hug, wrapping the arms around their mother, right? All right. So we said Amy and Bill, they hug their mother. All right. So Amy and Bill hug their mother, right? All right. So lastly, let's go to our test. And we said Tim and Jill guess the answer, or Tim and Jill happy the answer. So we'll be like Tim and Jill, they guess the answer. Guess the answer. Tim and Jill guess the answer. So something that the teacher does. Do we say the teacher story a book or the teacher reads a book? So we need to complete the sentence with the verb. And we say the teacher reads a story. And reads is correct. So the king, do we say look at the story, or do we say the king look at the story, or the king laughs at the story? And we can basically say the king laughs at the story. All right. So that is it now on our lesson on action verbs. Thank you very much for joining our class. Grade once we said an action verb, it tells us where either an animal, person, or thing that is doing something. So thank you very much for joining the class as well as for interacting. Till next time. Goodbye.